The Brooklyn Nets cannot catch a break. We are a month into the NBA season, and controversy follows this team wherever they go. You got Stephen A. Smith ranting like a maniac on woke take on a weekly basis. Yesterday, after the Nets lost, I think it was 117-99 to Steph Curry and the Warriors, Stephen A goes on another one of his ridiculous rants. You know the rants I'm talking about, where he gets all animated, eyes looking like he took a hit of ecstasy, yelling, screaming. Kevin Durant made a mistake going to Brooklyn. He has been betrayed by Kyrie Irving. This team is just trash. Yeah. They're 11-5. They're sitting atop the Eastern Conference, or tied atop the Eastern Conference. This team is in real trouble, Stephen A. Smith. Steve Nash better be worried. These talking heads on TV, they make it seem like Armageddon when an NBA team is struggling in November. Hell, the Nets aren't even struggling. I know James Harden's off to a slow start. He'll be fine. And Kyrie Irving, how in the hell did Kyrie Irving betray Kevin Durant? I don't remember Kyrie making the decision to force people to be vaccinated in New York City. That decision was made by Bill de Blasio. He took a break between bong hits and enforced that ridiculous mandate. So if Stephen A. Smith wants to be pissed off at Bill de Blasio. Once again, this is another example of Stephen A. Smith saying things that he is told to say. So you have him piling on the Nets on a weekly, sometimes daily basis. James Harden struggling, Kevin Durant carrying the team, and now they're being hit with a damn lawsuit. The Brooklyn Nets are being sued by two former ball boys. Now, once I tell you the reason for this lawsuit, you are already going to know how the mainstream media will cover this story. Juwan Williams, Edward Bolden Jr., they are the two former employees, the two former ball boys that are suing the Brooklyn Nets. Each media site that I read for this story, they were quick to inform the reader both of these men are black. Now, I don't know why their race needs to be mentioned at all. This is common practice in the woke media. The story we talked about yesterday with that high school kid being suspended in New Hampshire, remember that? I read a lot about that story. Not one time was the race of that kid or his mother mentioned. Why? I would imagine they were both white. However, anytime there is a case involving an African American, the media is quick to point to their race. I don't understand it. But anyway, these two men are suing the Brooklyn Nets for, it's essentially wrongful termination, is what it is. It doesn't specifically say that, but that's what it is. They are suing for wrongful termination. Wrongful termination suits are usually difficult to win for the employee. Down here in the South, a company can fire your ass without cause. They don't need a reason. And that's the way it should be, to be honest with you. If something is not working out, the company shouldn't have to justify firing you, just like you don't have to justify when you quit. But this particular lawsuit was filed in New York, land of the woke. So these guys, they might have a chance to win this case. At minimum, maybe the Nets will settle out of court with them. I wouldn't do that. I would fight this bullshit. But the Nets, they might be willing to pay these dudes a couple of $100,000 just to go the hell away. Juwan Williams and Edward Bolden are claiming the Nets fired them because they were active in protesting racial injustice last summer, after the death of George Floyd, of course. They allege their supervisor, Joe Cuomo, hopefully no relation to the two dumbass brothers, but they allege that Joe Cuomo was against the Black Lives Matter protesting, and he forced these two guys specifically to stop discussing racial issues with Nets players while they were at work. They said Cuomo prohibited us from speaking to players about racial injustice and racial inequities in America. Okay. What the hell's the problem with that? Clearly, Juwan Williams and Edward Bolden don't know this, but when you work for someone else, you follow their rules. They put people in place to supervise you, and they have the authority to make and enforce the rules. If you're working at Citibank and they have a policy prohibiting political discussions at work, guess what happens if you continue talking politics in the office? They're going to fire your ass. Most companies have policy that ban political and religious talk in the office. It is no different here with the Brooklyn Nets. But Juwan Williams and Edward Bolden claim it is different. How is it different? Well, this is not fair. The Nets allow their players to discuss political issues at work, but they specifically singled us out, would not allow us to talk about it. This is a double standard. There's that damn word again, fair. Double standard. You know what? There is a double standard. Let's go ahead and give these two guys a lesson in life. Let me explain to them how things work out here in the real world. I'm not talking about the fake social justice world that you want to live in. I'm talking about the real world that the rest of us are living in. There is this thing called status. It's not based on race, not based on gender. It's based on your value. I know that seems harsh to soft-ass social justice warriors, but that's the way it works. Your status at your job is based on how valuable you are. Now, what is your value based on? Well, it can be based on a number of things, but one of the main things is how easily can you be replaced? How easy would it be for the company or the team to find someone else to do what you do and do it at the same level? For example, if you and I are working at the same company, I'm the executive vice president, you're the janitor, who is more important? I would be. It's much easier and cheaper to replace a janitor than it is to replace an executive. It is expensive recruiting executive management. It's a long process. You got to find the candidate, vet them, interview them 3, 4, 5 times. This position makes important decisions that affect everybody in the company. Anybody can be a damn janitor. You can go down to Labor Finders or a temp service, find a janitor in 5 minutes. This same scenario applies to Juwan Williams and Edward Bolden, and them claiming it's a double standard that they weren't allowed to talk politics at work, but Kyrie Irving can. It is a double standard. The Brooklyn Nets can find a new ball boy in 5 minutes. There are no skills required to be a ball boy. You hand balls to players during shoot-around practice. You take them from the officials during the game. That's about it. That's your job. You can't replace Kyrie Irving. You can't replace Kevin Durant. There's not another person on this planet that can do what Kevin Durant does on a basketball court. This dude's the best player in the world. Do you understand why the Nets would give them more leeway than they would give you guys as a ball boy? This is simple, or this should be a simple concept to grasp. But as you guys know, logic is something social justice warriors, they just struggle with it. I hope the Nets fight the lawsuit in court because it is clearly nothing but a cash grab. These guys want a settlement. They want some money. They're even claiming Joe Cuomo had them blackballed from working for other NBA teams. It's probably true. I read some reports that these guys were allegedly trouble to deal with. They were lazy. If they applied with another NBA team and they called the Nets for a reference, I highly doubt they gave them a recommendation. That is not blackballing you. Simply being honest. So I hope the Nets don't settle with these social justice warriors, but in most cases like this, they will give them a little bit of money just to make them go away. And the lawyers will take most of that money from them. All right, let me know what you guys think about these two SJWs suing the Brooklyn Nets. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.